There has been a lot of news recently about a potential vote for Catalonian independence in Spain. It would appear that Spain's center-right ruling government strongly opposes the movement, while leftist groups support the movement for secession.
Yeah.
What is Charles's position on Catalonian separatism?
Well, firstly, as with Scots, Breton, Irish, Welsh, a lot of other separatisms around Europe, there are things that are legitimate and things that, in my humble opinion, are not. Each of these smaller peoples have a very noble history of their own. The Catalans, who actually, Catalonia is a small part of the entire area where people speak Catalan. Not only do they speak it in what we call Catalonia, but down along the coast of Valencia, the Balearic Islands, and even on the island of Sardinia, which belongs to Italy. Catalan is related to the southern French language of Provençal. It's a beautiful language, and one of the few that Our Lady herself spoke.
Wow.
When she was at Lourdes.
Lord?
Yes.
Isn't that in France?
It is, but they speak Catalan in that part of France. And Our Lady spoke to St. Bernard Soubirous, not in French, but in Catalan.
Is that a type? Is that a derivation of French or Spanish?
Neither. It's a separate language.
It's totally. It has no semblance to either Spanish or French.
It's a Romance language, so yes, it's related to both.
Oh.
But they're related to each other. And as I say, the southern French language/dialect of Provençal is more closely connected to Catalan than either are to French or Spanish.
Wow.
So, and they have centuries of Catalan literature. The medieval literature has a lot to do with knights and ladies and dragons and all that. Catalan itself, you see, you've got to bear in mind that the Moors conquered all of Spain, except for a little bit up in the northwest corner. They're slowly pushed back, but the different nationalities and peoples that make up the Iberian Peninsula, the Portuguese, the Galicians, the Castilians, the Aragonians, the Andalusians, the Catalans, the Basques were already there, but the Navarrese and all that, these different peoples were liberated from the Moors at different times by different individuals, and that's where their individual histories come from.
Okay.
So, before I say anything else, let me say that the Catalans are a separate people from the rest of the Spanish, and they certainly have a very proud history.
Okay.
All right, that's all on one side.
Right.
On the other side, however, and just as with the Scots, just as with the Irish, this isn't a question of separate identity, but a separate political reality, a separate state. Now, as with Scotland, how do they expect to support themselves, number one? Number two, more importantly perhaps, who's behind it? And as you said, the left.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not behind it for any good reason. Now, Catalonia is an interesting area too, religiously, because since the 19th century it's been extremely divided. Some very pious Catholics and some really horrible anti-clericals, especially around Barcelona.
Okay.
And I think that it's that latter tradition that is behind this independence movement.
Okay.
With a lot of these things, the thing itself may or may not be a good thing, but the people behind it make all the difference. So to give you an example, Austria is German-speaking. So by itself, the union of Austria with Germany makes sense, right? On some levels.
I guess.
Unless it's the Nazis who want to do it, in which case there's something else at work. Similarly, the Catalonian left are not really the sort of people one would want to give one's country over to. And then there's also the fact that they want a republic. And as a great supporter of the Spanish monarchy, even in its somewhat attenuated present form, I'm certainly not in favor of that.
In the beginning of the segment, you used the word legitimacy.
I did.
What makes a person legitimate? If they're a good guy?
Well, of course. If they're a bad guy...
Is it really that simple?
Yeah, sure. Why not? Could be true.
What?
Yeah, it could be true. I like the idea.
So,
if you're a good guy, you're legitimate. If you're a bad guy, you're not.
The Catalonians are illegitimate because they're the bad guys?
No, the Catalonian leftists are legitimate because they're bad guys.
Okay, so...
Now, if this were a right-wing movement, we'd have to look again.
But that put a taint on the whole movement. So so we're against it.
Well, it's like with the Basques. I mean,
let me ask you this: what if it was the good guys that were in favor of secession? Does our opinion suddenly change?
it might. It all depends on who the other side are.
Okay, well, what is our opinion based on? I mean, what's the good? I mean, how does that impact the rest of the world?
Well, actually, Spain being a strong country is a good thing, not a bad thing.
Okay.
Number one. Number two, the likelihood of Catalonia being able to run itself well over the long term is not that great. The last thing this world of ours needs is another small, badly run country.
A friend of mine said that the reason this has turned into a thing is because a great deal of taxes come through Catalonia. That's a very rich part of Spain. So they have a lot of leverage. They just stopped paying taxes, and Spain's hurting.
Spain has trouble, but they also don't have a birth rate, which is why there's so many Latin Americans working over there who get treated badly.
Oh.
Yeah, but you didn't hear that part.
Okay.
I guess not. Wonder why the Catalan nationalists don't talk about the fact that they're not breeding enough people. I guess it's because my own French-Canadian nationalists.
Oh, so you're saying it's like this nativist threat is over there now. Oh, stay out because you're a threat because we're not breeding.
Yeah, and also to be fair, Franco, for all of his for all of Franco's gifts, he treated the Catalonians very badly. It was one of the last holdouts. Catalonia traditionally was autonomous. First for the Kingdom of Aragon, then for the Kingdom of Spain. They had their own government, the Generalitat, and as I say, they have their own culture. There's no doubt in my mind about that. But a lot of them side, as I say, in the 19th century, they developed a big anti-clerical movement in Catalonia. And this was very much on the side of the Republic during the Civil War. So Franco suppressed their autonomous institutions and really tied them closely to the Spanish state. When Juan Carlos became the king and the Franco system was ended, Catalonia became autonomous again. And now they want independence, which to me shows a certain amount of ingratitude. But that's just me.
Okay. Mr. Begur had a second question on this topic. He's asked, what implications would Catalonian secession have for the church in Spain? Or what's left of it?
Or what's left of it? Well, I mean, if the behavior of Catalonian anti-clericals in the past is anything we can expect, Catalonia would become even more secular. And they doubtless would play all sorts of games with the church.
I see.
So, I mean, they'd be even worse than they are now.
I see.